little bit to let some people get on here. If you're joining us today, don't forget to say hello. Tell us where you're viewing from, how much snow you've got, what the weather's like. Hi, Sue. Okay. You have any jokes today, Melissa?
I don't have any jokes.
I didn't come prepared. I suppose I could make one up, but it wouldn't be nearly as good, I'm sure. Hi, Ashley and Jennifer, Samantha, Kenzie and Sue, and Amanda. Thanks for joining us today.
Okay, go ahead.
I think so.
All right. Well, everybody, we are live today with Elanco, and we are excited to introduce Dr. Mark Hilton. He joins us with 5 years experience as a beef technical consultant at Elanco and was formerly a Purdue clinical professor for 18 years and also practiced veterinary medicine for 15 years in Iowa. So Dr. Hilton, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. So thanks so much, Corey, for asking me to be here. So one of the things, so Corey said, I've been a beef veterinarian for almost 38 years. So that's really, cow-calf has been my focus for that entire time. So that's my real specialty area. I really enjoy the cow-calf side. I grew up on a beef and swine farm in Indiana, and our veterinarian was a real help to us, especially on our cow-calf herd. We were pig farmers and bought a farm with some rough ground. So we got some beef cows on shares with another farmer where we'd take half the calves and he would take half the calves, and our veterinarian was really helpful on just some management kind of things with our farm. So that kind of got me interested in being a veterinarian. So what I want to talk about today, and please ask questions. What I do not want to happen is to have Mark Hilton give a 30-minute lecture to all of you. And when I was a professor at Purdue, I did not do that. I got my students, we started asking questions and we'd have discussions. If we got to the last slide, fine. If we didn't, no big deal. So if I get to my last point or not, doesn't matter. I want to answer your questions. But my theme for the whole talk is 100% healthy calves. And on a well-managed beef cow-calf operation, from the time that calf is born until the time that calf is weaned, I think that's a reasonable goal. And I have plenty of clients that I've worked with over my 37-year career that have achieved that. And I'm not talking about somebody with one pet cow. I'm talking about a herd of cattle where they've just made the commitment to have healthy calves. So which one of you mentioned snow? Who asked about how much snow?
We've gotten a lot of snow here lately. Corey, how much snow have you gotten up by your house?
I don't know. We've probably had 10 inches or better on the ground right now.
So. And it's so cold, so the snow is not leaving anytime soon.
Yeah. And before the talk, I think it was Melissa that said something about spring calving. Well, check your calendars. Spring happens on March 21st. So if you're calving now, that is called winter calving. And that doesn't have near the nice spring calving. It just sounds so lovely, doesn't it? And winter calving just sounds horrible. And so, sorry, but those of you that are calving right now are winter calving, and fighting nature doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So one of my goals with 100% healthy calves is have those calves born out in nature and have them born outside when the weather is decent enough to be born. You know, if you have some reason, when I practiced in Iowa, I had farmers that farmed 5,000 acres of corn, 7,000 acres of corn, and they're like, nothing is going to get me off of that tractor from, you know, the 1st of April until the 1st of June. So they would calve in January and February. And my comment was, why don't you develop a herd that's so low maintenance that as you're, you know, putting a field cultivator on, you're like, oh, that heifer just had a calf. Great. But anyway, I can see I have some clients, like I said, that calved in the winter because they're like, I'm unemployed. In fact, one of my clients said, my wife really needs me to be out of the house a lot more in January and February. So that was his main reason, which made me chuckle. And I was like, okay, that's maybe a really good reason to be calving at that time.
And we'll also encourage everybody to comment and let us know that you're here. We've got a giveaway coming up at the end of this segment as well that you're not going to want to miss out on. So.
Yes, one lucky commenter is going to win this 50 mil Prodigy repeater syringe from Elanco. So make sure you get those questions in there so you have a chance to win that.
Yes, that's good that you mentioned that, because yeah, we're happy to give that prize away. It's got a little button on the end of the plunger too, so whatever of our vaccines you're using, you don't have to say, which one was I using? It's actually on the little end piece tells the name. So yeah, it says it right on the end. So very good. So as a veterinarian, one of my goals is to help my clients, again, have 100% healthy calves. I want to have a good pregnancy rate. And the most important thing in getting those things done is not vaccinations, it's nutrition. So having cows in great body condition score when they calve so that they have the right quantity and quality of colostrum is super important. So I would like to see my cows, and the body condition score goes from 1 to 9, 1 being a bag of bones and 9 being obese. I want my cows in body condition score 5.5 to 6. I want them just a little bit fleshier than you would have the rest of the year so that they've got a little reserve, come back and heat a little bit quicker. The research is really quite solid that having these cows in good shape is really, really important. Most of the research on body condition score was done 20 to 30 years ago, and our genetics of our cattle have changed quite a bit. Our milk EPDs have gone up, our growth EPDs have gone up, and I just really think those cows need to be in that 5.5 to 6 body condition score. If you don't know what that means, talk to your nutrition company. Most of them will have some kind of a handout that talks about body condition score, and it has pictures of cows. And I'll give them a quiz question here. Who is the worst person to body condition score your cows? Okay, we'll see who answers that in the chat. Who is the worst person to body condition score your cows? I told you I can't multitask, so I looked over there, and we'll give them a minute or 30 seconds.
There's a few answers.
Lisha says ourselves. Sue says the farmer.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. So we had I had a client at Purdue. I was ambulatory, so I was out in the field every day, and we had a client, and we'd go out there and we'd have our body condition score charts, and the students would practice. They like to practice, and you can't body condition score a group when you're starting. When you're a novice, you look at a single cow and say, what's her body condition score? So we would point to this cow, and the students would grab their charts, and they're looking at it, and I would say, okay, what do you think? And one of the students say body condition score 7. So that's really fleshy. That's a little chubby. And the other student would say 6.5. And the other student would say 7. And the owner would look and go, oh no, she's just barely a 5.5. And I'm like, no, she's fat. So that's bad because he's wasting his money on too much feed. But what's worse is the client we go to and the cows were actually body condition score 4, 4.5, and the owner's convinced they're all 6s, right? So yeah, sometimes looking at your own cows is not the best. So trade with your neighbor, say, hey, come body condition score my cows and I'll come and do yours. But most of the nutrition companies will have a chart. Your Elanco representative, we have some handouts also. So you can reach out to your veterinarian, find out who your Elanco rep is, and we have some body condition score charts that talks about feeding rumensin and some other things in that. But
Christine says the butcher is the worst.
What's that?
Christine says that the butcher is the worst.
Yeah, there you go. Right. Yeah. Well, on a pen of cattle, the buyer always, they need another, 2 weeks, right? That's the thing. So cows 5.5 to 6, or yeah, 5.5 to 6. Heifers need to be in better shape than cows. I really like to see heifers in 6.5, and I'm not even worried if they're in body can just score 7. So I'll just ask the group, why do you think heifers, first calvers, should be a little fleshier, a little fatter than cows the day that they calve? Why the difference? Why do I want those heifers to be fleshier, carry a little more fat on their body than an adult cow? So we'll see what some of the people think.
Sue guessed stress.
Okay. Well, that's a nebulous term to me. What do you mean, Sue? And others keep guessing, or keep answering. I shouldn't say guessing.
Leisha said to maintain their weight after calving, and then Angie also had a question, so maybe we can ask that while more answers come in. She asked if you think that the body condition has changed over the years because of GMO grain.
No, GMO grain has no effect on it. They've done extensive studies. Purdue actually did a study because one of the students noticed they were doing some GMO corn, and the students noticed that on the corn stalks, the cows were spending more time after harvest grazing the fields that was non-GMO corn than GMO corn. And they thought, oh, the cows don't like the taste of it. Something's going on there. So when they investigated it, you know what the answer was? The GMO corn had less corn that had dropped because of rootworms. And so the cows got smart and realized that the non-GMO corn had more actual corn out there. Because if the cow walks out onto a corn stalk field that's been harvested, the choice meal is a ribeye steak. Right? That is my favorite. If I've got 17 foods laid out, that's what I'm going to eat first. The cow, an ear of corn is her ribeye steak. She loves that. So that's what they ate. So no, the GMO corn, the digestion is the same. Everything's identical. They've just put a gene in that corn that instead of having to put insecticides onto that field, they've made the corn resistant to those parasites. So, I'm not going to get into a big GMO controversy, talk or anything like that. But to me, using less chemicals is good. So I think that's a good thing. So anybody come up with the reason? And what was the whoever said stress? What did Sue mean by stress? Did she answer us?
Go ahead. Yeah, she said that the stress from the birth of the new baby, fretting over the new calf heifers seem to chase their babies more than the older cows do.
Okay.
And then Samantha also chimed in and said to just help them produce more milk.
Yep. And so both of those are hinting at the right answer. And the complete answer is those heifers are still growing. So they're going to be using calories. So the adult cow, after she calves, she needs maintenance calories, she needs calories to make milk, and she needs calories to regain the weight she lost. The heifer has those three and gaining body weight. The heifer is going to weigh more after 90 days after calving than she will before she calved, because her structure is still growing. She's not mature weight. So in case that heifer doesn't eat quite enough, it's like a little bit of an insurance policy on those heifers. So I always say, if you've got a group of 10 or 15 heifers in a lot, and the neighbor comes by and says, wow, your heifers are a little thin right before calving, you're in real trouble, because colostrum quantity is going to be bad, and rebreed rate on those heifers is going to be terrible. But if the neighbor says, hey, those heifers are a little fleshy, just right. I want those heifers, when they walk, I want that little tissue next to their tail head, I want it to wiggle just a little bit. And that's not muscle, people. That's not muscle. I want a little wiggle right there, a little fat. So I want that heifer in great shape. This is a great time of the year for cow-calf producers to have a sit down with their nutritionist from their nutrition company and say, hey, am I using the proper salt mineral mix during the summer on my cows? Winter's hopefully almost over, and I've kind of locked in what I'm feeding this winter, but next winter I think I can do better. What do you suggest? So I think a cow-calf producer for sure needs a nutritionist on their team. You need a veterinarian on your team. The other person I think you need on your team is a grazing specialist. And where I practiced in Iowa and here in Indiana, we had a plethora of grazing experts to lean on. And when I, as a veterinarian, would take that grazing specialist out to the farm and have them spend a day, or I would hook the farmer up with the grazing specialist to spend half a day on their farm, the accolades that I got for getting those two people together was amazing. We have a herd just west of Purdue that now runs 40% more cows on the exact same acres because they had a grazing specialist come out and really map out what they needed to do. Their cows graze way more days during the year. They feed a lot less hay to the cows, and which really impacted their bottom line on their cattle farm. Because if you can have 40% more cows, you don't have to buy 40% more tractor. You don't have to buy 40% more, a lot of things. Those fixed costs you can stretch it across those cows. So I'm really big on having those two people on your team, a nutritionist and a forage specialist, in addition to the veterinarian. On the nutrition, we want to be, and it's the same on health. We want to be in the Goldilocks area. We don't want to be too much. We don't want to be too little. We want to be just right. So we don't want to be overfeeding our cows and feeding them products that are extremely expensive, but you can't starve the profit into a cow. So she's got to have what she needs. I am sure glad my cows are carrying just a tiny bit more flesh than I would maybe have most years, because this cold weather, they're going to lose weight today. They've been losing weight for the last week, but hopefully it's only, a couple pounds a day, and they've got 30 extra pounds to mess with on the deal. Any questions coming in that we need to answer, ladies?
Not just yet. Lots of commentary. It looks like we've got several from kind of the East Coast, Southeast corner of the world joining today. So
I figured you'd have a global, or at least U.S. wide audience. So yeah, that's great. And so that really brings me to my next plan. You need to have a health plan. Another good time to sit down with your herd health veterinarian. Well, maybe not right now. They may be out delivering calves, and kind of busting it pretty hard. So they may be a little bit busy, but you can get an appointment and sit down and go over your vaccination protocol for the year. You should have a protocol for the entire year for your herd. And again, Goldilocks, not too much, not too little, because I want the animals to be healthy. I want to use these vaccinations as part of your health plan, but it's not the entire health plan, right? If I have great nutrition, put my cattle in a great environment, I'm not going to have near the health problems. So, it's funny when I've been doing, like I said, beef production medicine my whole life. I'm going to grab a drink here. And one of my sayings is, I want to use management instead of medicine and money to solve problems. And when I interviewed with Elanco, I asked the person that ended up being my boss, who's a veterinarian, I said, I've spoken at veterinary meetings. I've written in Beef Magazine. I've written many times, we need to use management instead of medicine and money to solve problems. I said, Elanco sells medicine. I said, am I still going to be able to say that? And he looked me right in the eye and said, never compromise your ethics. So I thought that was a good statement, because if you just said, no, you need to sell more medicine for us, I would have said, fine, I'll just stay at Purdue. Nobody fired me or anything. I was not looking to leave, but I got the opportunity. So management, environment, nutrition is such the key to health. Vaccinations help, no doubt. I vaccinate my cows, and I have a protocol that starts when the calves are a few months old. So first thing is, your calves should be born and they should jump up. Okay. So if you see the water sac out on a cow, she should have progress every hour. An hour later, the feet should be well out or the calf should be on the ground. If you don't have progress every hour, something's wrong. I don't care if it's a heifer or a cow. You know, I was frustrated numerous times in practice when a client would call with an adult cow and they would notice her, you know, with the water sack out at 7 o'clock in the morning, and finally at 3 in the afternoon, they would call me. And I'd be like, why? You know, I didn't want to say, why'd you wait so long? But I would reach in, and 9 times out of 10, the calf's coming the wrong way. It's breech or the head's back or something's, it's malpresented. And the owner would say, well, gosh, you know, this is her 6th calf. She's never had any problem before. I just figured she'd be okay. And my way of thinking is even more the reason to say, wow, she has a history of doing great. Something's wrong. So reach in and check those cows, but progress every hour. If the cow's not having progress every hour or the heifer, something's wrong, and you either need to check her or you need to have the veterinarian check her. Okay, so we got that out of the way. So after that calf's born, in 30 minutes, the calf should be standing up. If it's not, something's wrong. That is not normal. 30 minutes after the calf standing up, it should be nursing. So these things should happen very quickly. And one of the things we know is calves born in super cold weather, they're going to be delayed. Calves that don't have hybrid vigor, are more straight bred cattle, are going to lay around longer and not nurse as fast. So if you have a commercial herd, calving, you know, in a time of the year that's more conducive for the calves to be born outside, and having crossbreeding, you know, having hybrid vigor in your cattle is really important. So that calf needs to jump up quickly and nurse. They need to nurse at least a couple of quarts of colostrum right off the bat. Some people dip navels of calves. I usually don't. Mine are born out on pasture for the most part, so not as big of a deal. If you're a commercial herd, this is the time to castrate the bull calves. Waiting and castrating them later is not an advantage. There is absolutely zero research that says waiting until a calf is 400, 500, 600 pounds and castrating him is a positive. There's tons of research that shows that calf that's castrated at that heavier weight loses weight for about 2 weeks after that, has higher sickness rate and higher death loss. So sorry, but ads that tell you delay castration because of testosterone effect are absolutely not correct. Get the calf castrated early. Implanting the calf later on with a low-dose growth implant will give you a weaning weight that's even higher than if you left that calf a bull, and the day you wean that calf, he doesn't have the stress of having his testicles removed. So get him cut right away. So on my own herd, when my calves are about 2 to 3 months of age, so around the 1st of June, I'm going to walk my cows and calves through the chute. My calves are going to get a modified live respiratory vaccine, and I use titanium 5. I've used it for 20 years. And, you know, before I go any further, if any of you change your vaccination protocol today because of something I said, that is a mistake. Write down some things, some ideas, but go to your herd health veterinarian and say, hey, I heard this vet from Indiana talk. You know, I've never practiced in any state except Iowa and Indiana. Those are the only 2 states that I guess I could know about Illinois because it's in between, but that local herd health veterinarian is the key to helping you develop a program that really fits for your herd. So don't go changing things because I said so. I'm just telling you what I do on my herd. So again, titanium 5, I love it. It's super easy on the calves. It gives great immune response, and it's really easy on the calves. And like I said, I've used the product for 20 years. I think it's just a wonderful 5-way modified live respiratory vaccine. My calves get a 7-way blackleg, and they get a 2 ml dose product. The 2 ml dose products are way easier on the calves than the 5 ml products. So if you're currently using a 5 ml product and you're saving a few pennies, the calf is not appreciating it because it's harder on the calf. So switch to the 2 ml we've known for many, many years. I use Pink Eye Shield XT4 on my calves. I have a seed stock herd, and so pink eye is a really big deal to me. Pink eye vaccines are okay. They're not wonderful. There's lots of strains of pink eye out there, and there's limited strains in the vaccine. As you can see, the XT4 has 4 strains in it. I'm sure some other ones have more or less. And again, talk to your veterinarian whether to use the product, and if they say, yeah, I think you should use it, what product do they suggest? If at this time, again, I've got a seed stock herd, so I don't castrate many calves at birth. Not this past year, but the year before this, I had a calf that had excessively heavy birth weight. There was no way I was going to sell him for a bull to somebody. He was way too heavy, so he got castrated right off the bat. But if I have a calf at 3 months of age, or especially on a commercial herd, if, let's say it was really muddy for a week and you didn't castrate any calves, as those calves walk through the chute, castrate the bull calves, get them done right now at 3 months of age. They go right back out to mom. She licks on them. She says, yeah, I was pretty sure you weren't going to be a herd bull anyway. And, life will get better. And, because when you're having a bad day, mom's a nice person to be around. Or, if you're a cow, you want to be around your mom. So she helps you out. So get those calves castrated then. I should give them a quiz question. There's 60 days during the year that you should not castrate calves. So let's see if anybody knows the answer to that. 60 days during the year you shouldn't castrate calves.
I think we've got a little bit of a shy group today. There's lots of people watching. They've just been very quiet.
So am I talking too much? Is that the problem?
I don't think so at all.
That can happen.
How informative it is.
Yes.
My students never got this one right either. So just,
All right, we've got 3 guesses that are all the same, July and August.
That's what all of my students always guessed also. That is not correct. The correct answer is Sundays and holidays. So July 4th, no castrating calves, because you should be doing something with your family, but July 3rd is okay. So the reason you can castrate a calf in the summer is if the calf has a tail, or if it has back legs, it will knock the flies away. So now if you have a calf that has no back legs and no tail, you've got a lot bigger problems than when to castrate it. But I don't spray any fly spray on the calves. Again, if you do, that's fine, but I didn't. I was taught by veterinarians that said, hey, you don't have to put fly spray on them. So we would castrate a lot of calves during the summer, and it's no problem whatsoever. Now, dehorning calves that time of the year, I would also do it. I would use the hot iron dehorner on calves in June, July. We rarely process calves in August because most of our clients knew that, the weather was miserable. They were done calving clear back in May. So sometime in June. So we would put the hot iron on, block the horns out so they didn't feel it, put the hot iron on there, burn the horns, but then we would put fly spray on the head because we could get some fly strike under the scab. So we would do that. The reason that I process my calves, my own, around the 1st of June is that's fly control season. We're starting to get quite a few flies on the animals, and I want to wait until I've got about 200 horn flies on an adult beef cow, and you can put 200 horn flies on your hand. That's, if you put them all on your hand, that would be about 200 right there. You don't want to do fly control too early because the best of the fly control is right after you put it on. So if you put it on in, April, and you don't really have flies until the end of May, most of your product didn't do you any good. So wait until you do that. So that's why I'm doing it June 1st. So I'm putting the fly tag in the calf's ear. Corathon or Silence Ultra are wonderful, wonderful tags. University of Nebraska has done research for many years, and those two always come up as 2 of the very best tags. So I put 1 in the calf, and then I put 2 in the cow, and I use the same kind of tag in everything. And then the next year I'll rotate to the other kind. Corathon is an organophosphate. Silence Ultra is a pyrethroid. So I rotate between the 2 of those. Put a pour on the calves and the cows, something like permectin CDS to give a quick knockdown of the flies. The fly tags take about 2 to 3 days to really, start to get into the wax of the ears, and the cows rub on each other and they rub on their hair and stuff. So that's how the fly tags work. It doesn't emit a vapor. Some people think that, like some of the fly strips and things, it's actually a contact. So it'll take 2, 3, 4 days. So I like to give them a quick knockdown because I hate flies. I don't want my cows standing around fighting flies all summer. I want them eating grass, sleeping, ruminating, and I want the calf nursing. You know, a cow's day, her 8-hour day is 8 hours of sleeping, 8 hours of resting and ruminating, and 8 hours of eating. That sounds like an ideal day to me. I mean, that's wonderful. And if I've got flies, you know, if we've got, you know, 500 horn flies on a cow, she's getting bitten about every 30 seconds. That's not fair. My cows deserve the best I have every day. And I don't want them fighting flies because they're not going to be eating or resting or ruminating or sleeping. And all three of those things are really good for the cow and good for my bottom line. I want my cow to be a really happy cow. So on the cows pre-breeding, like I said, I'm going to put 2 fly tags in the ear. I'm going to pour them with permectin CDS. And then I'm going to give the cows a virus shield. I use the Virus Shield 6L5 HB on my cows. It's an inactivated or killed product to help decrease the chance of IBR and BVD abortions. There's some pretty good research that came out of South Dakota a few years ago that showed using modified live, which I used to do on my cows every year, is probably not ideal and can decrease conception rate. So that's something, if you're using a modified live product, pre-breeding on your cows, talk to your veterinarian, talk to your herd health veterinarian and say, hey, you know, this vet talked about some research from Dr. Perry out of South Dakota, and I can send it to him. You can find me easy enough. Your vet can find me. I'm a member of DABVP and ABC. My email is on those sites. I'm sure the young ladies here at Valley Vet can pop me a note if somebody wants a research paper or something like that. I'm glad to do that. So bulls pre-breeding, breeding soundness exam. Semen checking a bull is the most cost-effective thing a veterinarian can do for his clients. The last I checked, it's like a 20-to-1 return on investment. You know, if you turn out 10 bulls with your herd without semen checking them, statistics say one of them is going to be no good. So if that bull's with a group of 30 cows and he gets none bred, you know, because they kind of break into little pods out in the pasture, you know, bad deal. You know, again, I've been a vet for 37 years. I cannot think of a year that I didn't have a client that went over, had a group where the bull was no good and they got nothing pregnant. And I'll tell you what, you can pay for a lot of breeding soundness exams when you have, you know, 23 cows that are all open. That is devastating to do that. So then really, I'm not doing anything else with my cattle till weaning time. Weaning day, because my calves have already had their first vaccination, I can give them their second round of vaccinations the day of weaning. So I'm going to give them another titanium 5. I'm going to use a product called Nuplura. It's our Pasteurella vaccine, Mannheimia hemolytica. So it's the product, Mannheimia, it used to be called Pasteurella, it's Mannheimia now, kills more calves than anything else. That's what causes, that's the last kind of domino that falls in the cascade of respiratory disease in calves post-weaning. So I want to get that into them. If herds are having problems with summer pneumonia, I suggest giving it on that in Indiana. In my herd, I'd give it June 1st. You know, if you live in Alabama, it might be May 1st. I don't know when fly season happens. But I'll give you a little teaser. Stay tuned. Elanco's always got new products in the pipeline, and just stay tuned for a new product coming out. We're pretty excited about our new innovation and our new product that'll be coming out. So I'll just give you that little teaser. But I use the Nuplura, super easy on the calves. It's the most modern technology of any cattle vaccine on the market. It's made in a way that, so a lot of the gram-negative vaccines, which Mannheimia is, have a lot of endotoxin in them. It's a part of the cell wall that cause toxin, you know, poison inside the calf. So we don't want that. You know, we want to minimize that. But the traditional Mannheimia vaccines all have a lot of endotoxin in it. And Nuplura is made in a 2-step process where they actually purify the product, so there's almost no endotoxin. We actually did a study, and against a competitive product, it had 35 times less endotoxin. So, you know, when you go to get your flu shot or your shingles vaccination and your arm hurts for a day, that's the endotoxin that's in there. And my theory is the calves deserve the best every day. Why put a product into them that has endotoxin? So I'm a huge fan of Nuplura. The sales of that product have just been phenomenal the last couple of years. Once people use it, they really, really love it. Potentially give another black leg to the calves. Going to implant the calf again. Again, I implanted that calf in the spring. All those steer calves that we castrated with component EC, C for calf. And then I'm going to use component TEG, G for grazing at weaning time on my calves. And gosh, that $2 implant, gets you about an extra 33 pounds on that weaning implant. So huge difference in the growth of that calf. And the implant makes the calf grow more muscle. It delays fat deposition and lays down more muscle. Deworm the calves. I really like Cydectin injection. So deworming the calves in the fall. They've picked up parasites all summer. Deworming the cows, I'm not going to go into that because I just can't make a blanket statement. The United States is so diverse. That's probably one of the most important questions you can ask your herd health veterinarian. When should I deworm my cows? What product should I use and what route of administration? Should I use pour-on, injectable, or oral? Which product should I use? It's way too complicated for me to try to get into that. So I really like to inject the calves in the fall and take that fly tag out. It's ran its course and it's done. And the cows in the fall, I'm going to pregnancy check them, take the fly tag out. I'm going to pour them for lice with cleanup too. It's got an insect growth regulator in it, so it only takes one dose. It's the only product on the market where it takes one dose. So I really, really like that. So I probably spent a little too much time on that, but I'm a veterinarian. You need to have a protocol and you need to review it once a year with your veterinarian because things change. New products like Nuplura come on the market. And if you're still using the old stuff, if you're still using a 5 ml blackleg product, we can do better with the calves. So any questions that are coming in, ladies?
Yes, we do have a couple of questions. Vicky is asking, do you suggest any of the pastes for gut health for newborns?
I am going to defer that to the nutrition folks because there are so many products out there on the market. I'm a research guy. You've got to prove it to me. I'm not from Missouri, the show me state, but I'm kind of that way. My heritage is German, so it's like you got to prove something to me. My calves, when they're born, get weighed and they get an ear tag. That's it. The nutrition that I'm giving my cows, I have a nutritionist that formulates my mineral for me. He tells me what to use, and I trust him. I trust him 100%. It's a little more expensive than the off-the-counter generic stuff, but I expect a little more out of my cows. So I'm expecting that calf to jump up quick and nurse. That's one of my hallmarks in my seed stock operation is I don't tolerate calves that don't know how to nurse when they're born. If I have a calf that's slow to nurse, I cut him. I don't care what else. He's castrated because I'm not going to pass on, because part of it's genetics, that's part of it. But I expect that calf to jump up, grab that colostrum, and get everything he needs. So I do not use anything like that. There are probably times to do that, but I'm sorry, but I'm just not gonna. I'm not smart enough to answer her question.
We've got some questions just around pink eye. If you want to kind of talk the topic and causes, there's a few different, some commentary on it and just looking at some causes there.
It's one of my nemesis diseases because if I have herds, so when I was at Purdue, we had 30 herds across the state of Indiana that were on our consultation program. So we would make one herd visit a year. We did all their records for them. We helped them on nutrition, genetics, environment control, pasture management, et cetera. We had lots of people help us. We brought other people in, but we were I was kind of the coach of the team, I guess. And we would say to the herd owner, we had 7 different areas the students were in charge of, and whoever was in charge of health would say, how's the health of the herd last year? And 8 times out of 10, the farmer would say, good, yeah, great. And if it was a husband-wife involved, the wife would say, well, I think we had some pink eye last year. And the husband would say, I think that was 2 years ago. But that's the disease that if someone out there can tell me how to 100% prevent it. Well, no, I know how to 100% prevent it. Don't have cattle, right? If you don't have cattle, you won't have pink eye. But it's a tough one. So I go at it from a lot of different angles. Fly control is my number one. So I'm using fly tags at the right time. I'm using a pour-on at the right time. I'm putting a feed through in the mineral like Raybon 30 days ahead of fly season. So again, for me, I'm going to see 200 flies on my cows around the 1st of June. I'm going to see the very first flies showing up around the 1st of May. So my mineral is going to have Raybon in it 1st of March on the cows, because I want that to be in the manure so that when those flies lay their eggs in the manure, the fly eggs die. So I use a multifaceted approach to pink eye. If the pasture gets way ahead of us, and it's fescue, my cows graze fescue pasture, has nasty little seed heads. Those can, rub the eye. If the pasture gets ahead of us, we mow it, or take a cutting of hay off of it so that we don't have irritation of the eye. Where the cows walk through a smaller area, we have one of those cattle life rubs. I know you guys sell them at Valley Vet. They've been around for 40 years and they still work great. They have the flaps that come down and the cows walk by there 2 times, every day. And I don't do that right away in the fly season. I expect my fly tags and pour-on to last me a month anyway. But if I see some flies start showing up, we put the rub up so that the cows go underneath there. But even with all that, I've had times where we've still had pink eye. And, I do use the vaccine. Here I am selling vaccine, or my company sells vaccine, and I'm not going to oversell or over promise on anything. I think it's part of the picture, but it's sure not the solution. If all you're going to do is vaccinate, it's not gonna work. But midsummer, if my fly tags are starting to poop out, I'll go out and spray the cows, and just try to maybe throw a little bit of dry gluten out in the pasture on the ground so that they all congregate, and then grab my sprayer and just spray the cows real quick to knock the flies down. But fly control is important. It's not the whole thing, because we get pink eye in the winter sometimes, and obviously there's no flies. So have a sit down with your herd health veterinarian. Maybe she has some other ideas on that could help you.
Vicky asked some questions about scours and what do you use and when?
Yeah. So at preg check time, my cows get Scour Boss. And again, I used the precursor of this product clear back when I was in practice in Iowa. I love it because you can give it so much earlier in the season. But again, it's the 4th most important thing in preventing scours. Number 1 is use the Sandhills calving system. If they don't know what that is, write it down and Google it. Sandhills calving system. I will explain it briefly. The traditional way to calve is you have a calving lot, and all the cows are there. And when that cow-calf pair is really mothered up, the calf's going, it's 3 days old, you kick them out to a pasture. And then the next one. So everything's born in this one area, and it becomes a contaminated mess. Because if a calf's sick, it stays there. The Sandhills calving system says set up, and it says 8 paddocks. That's the way it's set up. In Indiana, I've never had anybody, use 8. If we can get 5 paddocks, I'm super happy. But you put so number 1, I'm going to back up a little bit. Heifers should never be fed in the winter with adult cows. Heifers should always be fed separate from the cows. I don't care if you have 1 bred heifer and 6 cows, the heifer should be separate. She's not going to get her fair share with the cows. It's just not going to happen. And she needs more than her fair share. And research shows you'll have, I forget what the number is, 2 or 3 times the amount of sickness if you winter heifers with cows. Then you should never calve heifers with cows. The heifer should always be in a separate location at calving time. Again, multiple times more sickness if you calve heifers and cows together. The cows have developed some natural immunity over the years. They've been exposed to stuff where the heifers haven't. The colostrum that the calf gets out of a heifer is not going to have the breadth of immunity that a cow's is. So they should be separate on the thing. But so environment's number 1. Number 2 is nutrition. I've already talked about that. Have the cows in 5.5 to 6, heifers in 6.5 to 7. Number 3 is crossbreeding. We know from research from many years ago that crossbred calves jumps up and nurses faster. So colostrum's magic. is absolute magic, and getting that calf to get a belly full of colostrum prevents lots of problems. The fourth most important thing is vaccinate, and Scour Boss, you can give it a way ahead of calving time, and I love the product. It's the leader. It's the #1 selling scours vaccine in beef, cow, calf. But if you don't do the other things, the vaccine isn't going to solve the problem. It's another multifaceted disease process that needs a multifaceted approach to solving the problem. And I'll tell you, there is nothing more rewarding than having a client that says, "Oh, I'm so tired of fighting scours," about halfway through the calving season. The next year, you set them up on the Sandhills calving system. You get the cows in better shape. You get them to AI to a different breed than what they've been using, so they get some hybrid vigor, and then you vaccinate with scours, and you check in with them 3 and 4 times the next year. Theoretically, not I'm saying I've ever done this, but theoretically, you check in with them, every few weeks. "Hey, how's it going?" And they go, "I don't have any calf scours." That is fun. And as a veterinarian, that makes me happy to see a client that went from spending $5,000 on diagnostics and treatments and losing calf to spending $500 on vaccine. That makes me a happy veterinarian. So yeah, great question. Thanks for that one.
Teresa was questioning cross-contamination between animals is it possible for, say, her horse to catch it over the fence from her cows?
No, most diseases are really pretty specific to the animal. There are sure some that do cross. We know that for sure. We get reminded of it with COVID, rabies, lots of other things. But I can't think of a single thing that a horse and a cow would have in common. Their GI systems are so different. Most of our bacteria, viruses, parasites have really adapted to those animals. One of the things that in small ruminants, I'm betting somebody on the call here has sheep or goats, and parasite issues in sheep and goats are just horrendous because resistance builds up so quickly in them, and they've gone to areas where they will graze with cattle and then put the sheep and goats out there afterwards. Well, the sheep and goats end up ingesting the cattle parasites and they die because the cattle parasites inside the sheep intestines and goes, wrong species. There's some homunculus can cross over, but most of them can't. So there's actually farms that have big time resistance problems that use multi-species grazing to actually decrease their resistance from problems. So yeah, not a concern with the horse. It shouldn't be in there when you're calving because the horse can bully the baby calves. And had a situation where had somebody that had a calf and the horse actually picked it up by the ears when the calf was born and bit its ears off. So not good. So yeah, I wouldn't have the horse in there unless they've been together forever and they're all buddies.
Okay. Let's see if anybody else has any questions coming in. We're kind of getting close to the end. I don't know if Dr. Hilton, if you want to kind of give us a summary on the top things to remember this spring to achieve the healthy calves, and then if any other questions come in between now and then, we'll let you know, and then otherwise we'll draw a winner.
Perfect. Yeah, well, the main thing is to have the mindset that 100% healthy calves is possible, and it's absolutely realistic. You're going to have pink eye once in a while. You're going to have an animal get foot rot. You're going to have a dead calf born. Things like that are going to happen. I did not say 100% calf crop, 100% cows bred. I said 100% of the calves that are born alive, making it to weaning time and being healthy. It takes a team. I don't know if you've read Beef Magazine, but I wrote the Vet's Opinion column in there for many, many years. And my last column was, do you need a team? And I'm a big team guy because I know what I'm good at and I kind of stay in my spot. I know what I can help a producer with. But as soon as someone starts asking me complicated nutrition questions, I go, I have this friend that's a nutritionist and you really need to call them. Because you need a nutritionist on your team. When somebody starts asking me, hey, should I plant this kind of, fescue or or this brand of red clover with my management grading. I'm like, that's beyond my knowledge level, but here's the person to call to ask, because those are important questions. And I want to help them get to the answer, but I don't have to know the answer all the time. So I've really built myself a team that fills in where I have knowledge gaps. I'll never know it all. And so I need to know that. Have a sit down with your herd health veterinarian. It's probably the most important thing you can do. I do not want you spending too much money on products and vaccines. An old veterinarian told me early in my career, never stick a hole in an animal unless it's necessary. And I've always remembered that. But I also don't want to be stupid with my money and be so frugal that I miss out on a $3 vaccine that is going to be hugely important to my calves. Everyone should vaccinate against IBR and BVD. It's so common. Nearly everyone should vaccinate against Mannheimia. It's really, really common. Nearly everyone should deworm their calves as they come off of grass. When to vaccinate your cows, what product to use, what dewormer, how to use it. You know, Elanco wants you to use the right product on the right animal at the right time. And that's our mantra. We want you to take your hard-earned money and spend it wisely. I don't want to have people spending money on our products that don't need it. And I'm serious about that. I just don't want that. But surround yourself with a team. Nutritionist, veterinarian, grazing specialist needs to be on your team. And write down a sticky note and put it on your mirror or something like that and say, 2021, 100% healthy calves. I'm going to do it. And if it doesn't happen this year, make it happen next year. So it can happen. I just love hearing success stories from my clients when they've said, here's my problem, can you help me? And I've become an asset to their business. I just love being on the asset side of their ledger rather than a fixer of broken cows and a liability to them. I've never been excited about that. I want to be an asset.
Chelsea is getting a small hobby farm started, and she had a heifer that she just treated for a cloudy eye, and she was kind of looking for some reassurance of just knowing she's going to be okay.
Yeah, that's and again, that's a tough one. There can be lots of things because you can give her an antibiotic that's labeled for pink eye, and if she has a tiny piece of hay stuck underneath of her eyelid that every time she blinks her eye, she's scratching the eye, that's not going to help it. So a complete physical exam, and I'm not saying she has to call her veterinarian. If she can do that, get the cow in the chute, put a halter on and pull the head around as hard as you can possibly pull it. You do not want that cow's head that weighs about 70 pounds to hit you in the face as you're looking at the eye. But there's, I really encourage my clients to do a physical exam before they called me on things. If I could solve their problem with a telephone call versus driving out to the farm and fixing it and saving them $60 or $70, I'm fine with that. I just, so a complete physical exam. What's the diagnosis? That when I would have producers call me when I was at Purdue, because we had a lot of producers that would call, hey, I'm in an area I don't really have a vet, and they'd say, well, they go, here's all the medicine I gave, and I said, well, what's the diagnosis? Well, I'm not sure. And they gave it 3 different antibiotics. I'm like, really bad idea. That you should have done the exam first so that we can make the diagnosis. And when you need a veterinarian, call a veterinarian to come and help. If you have, it's a long way to the veterinarian. Some of them are doing, FaceTime calls. Put your phone up there and they're, telling you what to do, looking at the animal and advising you, hey, do I need to come out or not? So always get the diagnosis.
Teresa had commented that this is her first year raising Holsteins. Do you have any different advice for them?
Yes. Find someone that's done it for many years that's very, very successful and spend a day or 2 with them. I'm serious, because they can be so tough to raise. I'll just tell you a story. So I had a pig farmer when I was in practice in Iowa, and his kids were getting older, and they needed more chores. So he went and bought 10 Holstein calves at the sale barn and lost 7 of the first 10. So, you know, after he lost one, well, that's the way it goes. Finally, after he lost like the 5th or 6th one, he called me and he says, "Hey, I need you to come out. I'm in trouble." And he just made so many mistakes, right? It looked easy to raise those calves, and it's not. It's very difficult. And it's easy to look at the neighbor that's having success, that's been doing it for 15 years, and think, "Oh, I can do that." And so we necropsied a bunch of calves, found out what the diagnosis was. I spent a lot of time talking to him. Maybe he paid me $400 or $500. I don't remember, but he told me, he said, "That was tuition, what I paid you." Well, then he bought calves from a different source. He did things a lot differently. And I had him go and spend a couple days with one of my clients that was excellent at raising Holstein calves. And gosh, that was almost 30. That was 30 years ago. And he and his family are still raising Holstein calves, and thousands of them. After he lost 7 out of 10, he could have thrown up his hands and said, I'm not doing this anymore. But he figured it out and was very, very successful. I was just on a farm in Ohio, and this young man, he feeds, I think, 800 or 900 out a year. And now he's buying Holstein beef crosses, and he likes them a lot more. They cost him more money, but they're doing better for him. And wow, he's excellent, does a great job. You know, if they live in Northern Ohio, I'll give them the name. But find somebody that's been doing it and been very successful and say, "Can you mentor me? Can you teach me how to do this?" Because we need more people that know how to feed those Holstein calves and do a great job. It's very rewarding, you know, to raise them up from birth to market weight.
Well, it's really exciting. It looks like we've got a lot of people here just getting started and maybe seeing their first calving season. Ben asked if you have any good video or book recommendations that are kind of have a first time to look at for raising calves.
Yeah, for raising calves, I'll think of that. I'm going to give an answer first. So can I plug my own website? Is that okay?
Yeah,
Because I've got some videos. I've got 3 videos, calving videos on there. And my genetics business and I used to have a consulting business. I don't anymore with Elanco because my contract says that the United States of America is my territory. So any consulting I do is via Elanco. So I don't do any private consulting anymore. When I retire from Elanco, I'll do that again. But it's Midwest Beef Cattle Consultants, and the website is mwbeefcattle.com. And if they go to, I think it says something like educational information, and then there's some videos on there. There's 3 videos. The first one shows how to dilate the vagina before you deliver the calf. The next one shows how to put a rope on the cow and lay the cow down before you deliver the calf. I'm a firm believer that using the Utrecht, Netherlands method of laying a cow down and delivering the calf it's so much easier than when the cow's standing up. I give a whole hour seminar on how to deliver calves, but we show how to lay the cow down with the rope, and then the last one shows how to use the calf jack to get the calf out. So there's 3 videos on there. There's also a video on there on how to use an esophageal feeder. Every beef producer should have an esophageal feeder, and I know you guys sell them. I like the ones that have the smaller bulb on the end. You can see my fingers. There we go. And I don't know what brand that is for you guys, so I'm not going to mention any brands. But you might want to check. I just like them better, especially for small calves. But how to use an esophageal feeder? Absolutely one of the best innovations ever in cattle production, to give electrolytes, or if you've got a calf that's born and it's weak and it won't suckle colostrum, milk the cow or heifer out and get 2 or 3 quarts of colostrum. 2 quarts is probably enough on most calves right off the bat. Don't give them 60 cc's. Give them 2 quarts. They need a big load of colostrum, but learn how to use that esophageal feeder. So that video actually goes through exactly how to do that without injuring the calf. Let's see. a book on, I think your best source would be to contact your extension educator in your county and say, does our state extension service have some manuals, some publications on beginning livestock production to get them started? So there's a lot of good information on the web, and there's a lot of not so good information on the web. I'll see a blog post by someone that has, 3 cows in I won't say anything more because I might get in trouble, and really likes to give information but really doesn't know what they're talking about and gives very bad information. Like I've seen posts that say, if you use management intensive grazing, which means moving your cows every 3 to 4 days in a pasture, you don't have to deworm. That's exactly opposite. When we do management intensive grazing, we force that cow to graze closer to the fecal pad, and our parasite load is going to be higher. So you can't believe everything you read on the web. And I'm not saying management intensive grazing is not good. It's wonderful. Big deal. You have to deworm the calves. But there's a lot of misinformation. So I would start with your extension folks in your state. I think that's the best place to go and get that information.
Great. Well, the one thing I didn't want to forget is, you want to talk us through a little bit. We also you want to mention the promotion that we have going on right now as well.
So right now we have a promotion. You will get a free 50 mil Elanco, a free 50 mil syringe with $400 purchase of Elanco cattle vaccines or an implant purchase. And this includes the Scour Boss, Titanium, Virus Shield, and component.
I'm sure Nuplura.
Yep.
There was a big list of qualifying items on there.
Yeah.
So.
And unfortunately,
Yeah, I don't know.
we've got some new Elanco syringes on the way that you guys are going to love. This is a similar model, just different color is all. But Dr. Hilton, I don't know if there's anything you want to mention specifically about this or that we can show.
Yeah, it's a 50 cc, 50 ml repeater syringe, so you can dial it from 1 ml up to 5 ml. To me, it's standard equipment for a cow-calf producer, and they're wonderful syringes. And again, it'll be Elanco blue, and then the little button on the end, it comes with 4 different buttons. So one says Virus Shield, one says Nuplura. I don't know if you've got that picture of the box that you showed earlier, but yeah, there it is. So Scour Boss, Titanium, Virus Shield, Nuplura. You just put the little end on there so you know which vaccine you have. Because not that it's ever happened when I had the students out vaccinating the cows and they would pick up the wrong syringe and give it to the wrong animal, but theoretically it could happen. So having that little button on the end really helps. And there's instructions on there how to clean it out. They're just wonderful products. Funny story, when I was in vet practice in Iowa, we had one of our really top clients. Their son was getting married, and his fiance came in and bought a 50 cc syringe, repeater syringe, for her husband for his wedding gift. And I said to myself, that is a good woman right there. That is a good woman. It's just awesome gift. And when I saw him a few weeks later out on the farm, I said, hey, I know what you got for your wedding gift. And he goes, isn't she the best? And I go, oh yeah, she is. She's really, she's the best. So gosh, once you have one of these syringes, you'll be like, how did I ever get by without it? So they're really wonderful to use. Take care of them. The instructions show exactly how to keep them in good working order. I'm sure the team at Valley Vet has the replacement parts if you do need a new O-ring or something like that for it. They can fix you right up. So yeah, we're happy to give those away to anybody that buys $400 worth of good Elanco products.
And we've got one that we're going to give away today. So as we said, these are not here yet. They should be here next week. And as soon as they arrive, we will be shipping one out to a lucky winner. And
stuck in a post office somewhere in the blizzard.
Yeah. All right, our lucky winner today is Ben Newman. Woo!
Congratulations, Ben. Oh, wow.
Congratulations, Ben.
Well, very good. Well, thank you, Dr. Hilton. We really appreciate you joining. We had lots of great commentary on all the great information that you provided for us. And
Thank you.
A couple of announcements before we hop off this live segment. We want to remind you about our Lucky 7 sweepstakes. The deadline to enter this is February 26th, so it's coming right up, so make sure you get entered. And we will be live again next Tuesday, so tune in then.
we have a slew of live videos lined up now through the end of April, so be sure that you're checking our events tab on our Facebook page so you don't miss one.
So thank you again, Dr. Hilton.
Bye.
Thank you, ladies.
Thanks,
Take care.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
I don't know why that's popping up there.